Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Been looking forward to coming on.
Yes, I absolutely, and I spoke to you on the phone. It was great to hear your story, and I want to share it with folks. I want to remind everybody, first of all, though, the Patriots of Act 746, they are a fantastic organization. They are spreading the word across Arkansas about the reality of what is called constitutional carry, and their goal is to educate folks on your Second Amendment rights and how you can exercise them here in the state of Arkansas. Dan, so tell us, how did you get involved with these Patriots of Act 746? What's your story?
Well, once again, thank you for letting me come on your show. I really admire your show and look forward to hearing it every day. But, Paul, one of the things that I was concerned about was I wanted a voice in Arkansas, but I did not know how to achieve that voice. Yes, I would go to the voting poll. I would call, senators that was working for us in Washington, congressmen, but that's really all that I knew how to do. And I was very frustrated that I felt like I just absolutely had no voice in this state. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, a lifelong friend of my family, Mr. Gary Epperson, got a hold of me and asked me if I would like to join the page of Patriots of Act 746, and I really didn't even know what that was about, and I asked him to explain it to me a little bit, and he did, and I said, absolutely, put me on the page. So I started following some of the members that had been on the page for quite a while, and they were a lot more educated than I was on the state laws, and especially concerning our gun laws in Arkansas. And so I started following them, educating myself, researching, and then I attended a luncheon down in Waldron, constitutional carry luncheon, and Senator Rice and I believe some other representatives were there as well, and I started learning more. And so I decided, hey, this is a way that I can have a voice. So I decided to organize a constitutional carry luncheon in Alma at a little restaurant there at A to Z. And we had a very good turnout. And we actually had some folks from Clarksville that came over that was interested in seeing what we were all about. And this happened to be Misty and Cody Graham. And they came over, and they both got very excited, and I'm going to tell you what, they rolled their sleeves up and they got to work. And because of the things that they learned about and to getting them excited, they rolled their sleeves up and they went to work very, very hard for Representative Pickleton. And I tell you what, I have found a great voice through this group. I now feel like that I have an impact in the state of Arkansas, and that the representatives and the senators are listening to us.
Yeah, and let me just say this. You talked about how you were looking for a voice. A long time ago, back in 2009, I guess,
yes,
that's when I was approached and I had the opportunity to have a radio program. We started just on one station, Northeast Arkansas, and at first I said absolutely not, don't want to do it. But then I began to get frustrated, and I began, I was reading more about our founding fathers. I was reading more about our individual liberties and our individual rights, reading more about tax policy, reading more about how they are wasting our tax dollars under the guise of taking care of the people and everything else. And then I was like, I had completely forgotten about the radio offer for a time. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to start a blog, and I'm going to start just writing all of my frustrations out. And I need a voice. I need a place to do that. And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a second. I could just pursue this radio idea. And I got to tell you, it's been fantastic because I've told people this for a long time. Just being able to get involved, there's a certain therapeutic aspect to it, to where you're working to get the word out, or you're working to organize. And I slept better for a time, because I was able to channel my passions into something that was attempting to accomplish is a good thing. So I think I identify with where you come from, Dan.
Absolutely. Being a pastor, I've never been afraid to get up in front of a large group of people and speak. I'm certainly not eloquent in speech, as you can tell, but I'm not afraid to get up and speak in front of people. And so the admins of the page, when I had this luncheon, they were looking for someone to MC the meeting, and I said, yeah, hey, you know what? I don't mind doing it if you all don't care. And so they saw that I was able to handle it, and then I was able to serve as an MC with several of these meetings. I got to MC the meeting that we had with Chris Ann Hall at Larry's Pizza this past year.
I've heard great things about her, by the way. I've heard great things about her.
I would love to tell your listeners, if they are not listening to Chris Ann Hall, you need to be listening to her podcast daily. Now, you talk about a lady that will educate you on the Founding Fathers and our Constitution. She is the one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell us, Dan, you say you're a pastor. Where do you pastor? Where's that?
I'm a lifelong resident of Arkansas. I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I've lived in Mountainburg, Arkansas, here in the Boston Mountains for the past 30 years. And I've pastored churches here in Arkansas, missionary Baptist churches. I attended the Missionary Baptist Seminary in Little Rock. And I had an opportunity to just cross over the line into Oklahoma and preach for a group of people in Salisal. And
so you don't let the fact that they're from Oklahoma, you don't let that work against them. And
some of my Oklahoma friends are probably listening today. So, but anyway, I told them
that's
they
great.
Need to get the gospel
to
line them out.
the gospel's for everybody. It's for people who live in Oklahoma and the whole world. So.
Even though that's right. I love them. They're great people. And man. I've been pastoring in Oklahoma for 4 years. I carry my weapon across the line with me every Sunday. I've even carried my weapon. Most of the time, I carry my weapon with me inside the church house. Back when things were kind of, unsettled there for a little while, I kept it under the pulpit.
Wow!
And no one had a problem with that. I have a very good man, Brother Charles House. He's the chief deputy there in Sequoyah County in Salisal. Also have a retired DOT patrolman that's a member of the church, Blakely Smith. He's 82 years old. Others that come in there, and I would say if someone actually tried to come into our church building to do violence toward people they wish they probably never have.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that, Dan? I know, at least in my neck of the woods, that's the way a lot of churches feel, and they have taken, they have been proactive in protecting, their congregation, and from something that really could, something really bad that could happen. And there are dangers out there, for sure.
Absolutely.
So,
Paul, I love people, and I want to help people as much as possible, but I'm also going to protect myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, tell me about this, Dan. We're talking with Dan Borum. He's speaking on behalf of Patriots of Act 746. Let's talk about accountability. I am sick and tired of politicians that campaign on one issue and then do another. For example, you might campaign that you're against Obamacare, and then you go down there and you actually implement it instead, which is what Arkansas Republicans have done. Or you may campaign that you're a staunch Second Amendment supporter. It says what it says, it is what it is, and then you go down there and you actually work to put more restrictions and more red tape on the people of Arkansas, the people that you supposedly serve, in order to exercise your right to keep and bear arms. Tell us about how we hold these people accountable.
We have to have accountability. And I'll tell you, Paul, the problem that I see, yes, we have representatives, senators that may say one thing and then they go down to the Capitol and they do another thing. But the problem is apathy. I spend a lot of time in these coffee shops and little places where I go and sit down in the mornings and visit with people and just discuss things, and I start talking about these issues, and people just laugh, and they say, I don't want anything to do with it because they're not going to listen to you anyway. They just do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't even listen, don't care. And that's what the word apathy actually means, unconcerned, having a lethargic mindset, not interested. And apathy in this state is killing us. Thankfully, there's been a little bit of a fire stirred up under the people, and, I have to kudos to Jan Morgan because she really helped us on our page when she mentioned us on her live stream to get involved with us. And now we're over 10,000 members, and we're growing every day. And so while there is still apathy within the state, that is why there's not accountability. Mm-hmm. If we, the people, would stand up and start attending these meetings, going to the places, town hall meetings, any place that you can go where there are representatives, and when people start showing up in numbers, it sends a great big message to them that people are now paying attention, and they can no longer just go down there and continue on with the status quo.
Yeah,
they know who we are,
mm-hmm.
and another thing that I'd like to point out about apathy and accountability, being a pastor and a student of the Bible, I'm reminded of Joshua was the man that God used to campaign the land of Canaan and to conquer the land of Canaan for the nation of Israel. Now, Joshua was a great leader, and the generation that fought with him were great men. But what happened, if you read it in Judges chapter 2, Joshua passed away, and in verse 10 it says, and a whole new generation rose up that knew not the Lord, nor the works that he did. Now, we might ask ourselves the question, why? Why did that generation not know?
Yeah.
And the reason is they were not taught because of apathy. The
You're
people
exactly
settled
right.
into their lives, and they just continued on. They just carried on with status quo. They quit teaching their children. And so a generation rose up that knew nothing about the law of God. In retrospect, look at our country. We have a whole new generation that has risen up that know nothing about our founding fathers. They know nothing about the Constitution. And I put a lot of the blame back in the home because we're so apathetic toward these things. We'd rather sit down and watch some goofy show than to spend a little time with our children and to teach them why they live in such a great country.
Yeah.
But that has got to change.
Yeah, and I do like you're using the Bible here to tell the story, because if you go further in the kingdom of Israel's history, you eventually do get to Josiah, who they find the law in the temple. They blow the dust off of it and they say, we found this. Look what we found. There were idols everywhere. They were not doing at all what they were supposed to do. And so Josiah, they bring him the law. He reads the law. He's convicted. He mourns. He tears his clothes because of what his country has become. And the pattern continues. They're given grace, and yet they really essentially just continue to disobey, and then it's this vicious cycle, this vicious pattern. And but you're exactly right. If you forget where we came from, and my fear for America is that if we forget about the liberties that we do have, the next generation will be having to reinvent the wheel. And if you have to reinvent the wheel about personal liberty and that my liberty stops where yours begins, they're going to be having to do that, to rethink, reimagine it from a totalitarian, very oppressive reality. Because that's the only, that's the give and the take. You either are free or you're controlled by who has the largest standing army on your land.
That's right. That's right. And Paul, when you think about the days of the judges, how was Israel described in the days of the judges? They were described as a people that Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Why? Because there was no accountability from the priesthood, teaching them and continuing to remind them. Now, I want to tell you what. When our representatives, our senators, and I'm not bashing all of them by no means. We have some good ones, but they're in the minority, and they're fighting by themselves, and they need us to stand behind them. But when they go to the Capitol and they just start doing that which is right in their own eyes without accountability, it's going to lead to nothing more than oppression. And so I encourage the listeners today to take this message out to all of their friends, their family, in the coffee shop, to get involved, show up. Strength is in numbers. And when these representatives see that the people of this state are rising up and they're no longer going to accept the status quo, then things will change. But not until then. As long as you have the mindset of, it doesn't matter, they're going to do whatever they're going to do, then they're going to. Mm-hmm. They're going to continue to do that which is right in their own eyes.
Yes.
And so we have got to stand up and tell them that they're going to start doing things according to the Constitution or else.
Yep. Dan Borum with Patriots of Act 746. Sir, I so appreciate you coming on. Fascinating conversation. We got to do it again sometime.
Paul, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a great experience for me.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to do it again. It was great. Okay? Nice to meet you. Be safe. All right? Stay in touch. Folks, you heard what he just said about getting involved, things like that, and I got a proposition for you. Okay? If you like this program and you want to see us continue to grow, get new radio affiliates, continue to make the online broadcast better, I want to give you more content for your support, and you can do that at Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp for $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month. There are